What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Bubbaville Bassin. In today's video, we're going to be doing a Texas rig video on where to use it, how to use it, and different combinations and variants of different plastics and different weight styles to catch fish using the Texas rig. So if you're new here, please hit that like and subscribe button. One of the main components of a Texas rig consists of having a bullet weight, free sliding up the line, or having it pegged. So we're going to talk about two different weights first, and then we're going to get into the soft plastics and hooks and line size and different types of rods. So the first component of the Texas rig consists of weights, bullet weights in fact, that slide up the line or they stay pegged to the hook. And I'll explain a little bit of that later, but we're going to break down each style of weight that you can use. And we're going to start with the lead weight first because they're inexpensive and you can find these almost about anywhere for $1.50 to $2 a pack. That's the good thing about the lead weights. And there's a bunch of bad things about the lead weights. They can get the job done, but I don't like to throw them because you see on top of the cone here, there's a lot of different like little sharp areas that can cause abrasion to your line. And when it's always sliding up and down from casts or dragging it over top of a tree or a trunk, it can definitely cut the line. Also, when bass hit these, they do crunch them up pretty good. They'll put slices all in them and it'll dig into a tree. But like I'm saying, that's the cons of having a lead weight. Obviously, it pays off because they're cheaper, so you can get a crap ton of them and always replace them, but they will get the job done. One of my most favorite weights to throw is a 3/8 ounce. You can kind of get the best of both worlds with that, and just 3/8 is one of the standard sizes to throw nowadays. Even with a football jig or a football style, you know, just regular Texas rig jig without having the skirt, usually 3/8 works great with that. It falls kind of slow, but it gets down there pretty quick, if you know what I'm saying. It's not taking too long to go through cover, and it's not going straight to the bottom, but it gives the fish a chance to have a reaction strike on it. So with all that being said, the lead weight is not bad for the price, but when it comes to tungsten, I have a 3/8 ounce flipping weight from Tungsten. The pros to this weight is that they will not chip, they will not cause abrasions, and you can feel a whole lot more thumping around on the bottom of the lake with tungsten. The downside is they're $7 for 3 of them, and if you lose one, well, you might have a bad day on the water. But in my opinion, this Venom Lures tungsten weight gets the job done even better than the lead ones because the top isn't as sharp and it doesn't stick up as far as the bullet weight. If I can compare both of these together, if y'all can see these, this one kind of has a more sharp tip to it, kind of like a crown or a bullet. That's why they call it a bullet weight. But the flipping weight navigates through structure and vegetation a whole lot better. And it's even better when it's pegged. So y'all can make the choice on whatever bullet weight y'all want, but we're going to move on to the soft plastics, and then we're going to show you how to rig each one. One of my favorite baits to throw is the Venom Lures Boss Hog. It's a brush hog style bait. It has 2 appendages on the bottom that kick and move kind of like a grub. These fat appendages, they kind of flop around like this as it falls, and the body is solid It's got a little bit of a cavity in there, not much. It's not as open as a tube is, but this thing is great for dragging through cover and flipping into cover. So this is one of my favorite baits. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it #1 on my book, but this is in my top 5.
You will soon enough. You do. That's a big one. You gotta leave it up.
Way out there.
Where'd you go to?
Freaking brush hog.
Nice fish. Still scrappy. That's a scrappy one. Good job, Chris. Giving you a good scrap, man.
He was like 2 million yards out.
I know, but still. I've never seen you take that long for one day.
You don't understand how far back he was.
No, I hear you. Nice fish.
Should have brung the net.
Get him.
Look.
You got him good to him. A little further out this one. Going down.
Next up is the Venom Lures Terra Crawl. This is a 3.8 inch crawl style bait. It is black with red flakes, and you can see that it has ribs on the side and it can displace water really well. It creates a vibration for bass to feel that with their lateral line, and these little pinchers have like little grooves on them. You can see that right there. It has little grooves on there, so when it's going vertical or getting drug, these little guys will flap back at the fish and act like it's in the defensive position trying to run away. So when something's running away and it's in a defensive kind of stance, bass just want to pounce on it and eat it. So this would be #3 on my list. So I'm throwing a 3/8 ounce weight with the Terra Crawl pegged with a 3/0 straight shank hook, and I am using the pegged weight so that way I can punch through that brush pile. And as you can see, it paid off and we got a nice 3-pound bass. It's the same exact thing here, guys. I'm fishing a bar and there's some more brush to the right where I casted, and I made a longer cast so that way the bass couldn't associate my bait with the boat. The post spawn bass are just stacked up right on this ledge. We have a Senko stick bait style kind of bait. This is a Venom Lure Salty Sling. Like I said, it's a Senko style bait, so when you Texas rig it, it will fall and shimmy just like this. Bass cannot resist it. This is great for any style of fishing, whether it's a Texas rig, a drop shot, wacky rig, any type of application you want to do with it, you can do it. Even a Nico rig. But with a stick bait, you can fish it weightless, you can fish it Texas rig, and when you Texas rig it, it's great for fishing cover as well, or dragging off of sandbars or ledges or drop-offs. And it's in the green pumpkin color. Green pumpkin is the #1 color for a Senko. In this case, it's a Venom Lure Salty Sling. So I would probably put this number 2 in my categories for best top 5 plastics that I like to throw.
Been a good day, evening. I ain't gonna see y'all next week, so I guess.
So as y'all know, Pastor G doesn't throw too many finesse plastics, but we're working a sandbar, and he's throwing a green pumpkin salty sling with a actual lead weight that slides up the line, and he was just dragging it off, and as soon as he like took 2 or 3 drags, that fish hammered it. So the Texas rig definitely helps everybody catch fish, even though Pastor G doesn't like throwing finesse style plastics, but he was able to dial it in and get like 5 or 6 fish, and the Texas rig definitely helps everybody catch fish.
Yeah. I think you're right. That channel is running up. That's a hook set and a half there. That was that bad.
So this is a very good example right here. We're kind of in the same spot. The fish are still stacked up post spawn, and the bigger fish are on the bar because all the buck bass are still on beds on the shoreline, or they're fry guarding, and the bigger ones are out in the middle still trying to eat from being very exhausted from laying eggs. So that Venom Lures Salty Sling did it again. Like I was saying, he's using a 7-foot medium rod with 10-pound mono, and he went with a smaller application to catch these fish because it was an east wind. So we definitely had to finesse it up and basically make sure that, you know, we were light as possible so we could catch these finicky bass.
Absolutely number 1 would be the Venom Lures Better Beaver. A beaver style bait has a lot of thick plastic to it. It's great for flipping and pitching. These little guys kick around, and then these also are like a grub tail. So the Moneyball jig head has a EWG hook in it, and you would just normally Texas rig it, and I have it just buried in the middle of the body. Last but not least is a 10-inch Peppergrass worm. This is a really good bait for those post-spawn bass that want a big meal but also don't want to work too hard for it. When your water's at 75 to 80 degrees, it's nice to throw a big worm, because when you throw a bigger worm, it gives a bigger presentation for a fish to see, and generally a bigger fish likes to bite a bigger bait. I have caught a lot of 1 and 2 pound bass on this, but I have also caught a lot of big bass. So when you have a lot of high pressure and it's hot outside and nothing's really going on, tie up a big worm and it'll get the job done. So next we're going to move on to how to rig up a Texas rig. You want to have 12 or 15 pound fluorocarbon sinks, so it helps get the Texas rig down there quicker, and it doesn't kind of float and make it suspend if you have a lighter bait. This is a Venom Lures Death Grip hook. It's a straight shank. Here's a Venom Lures EWG 3/0 Death Grip hook. So you can see the two similar hooks. This one has the straight edge shank on it, and this one has the round bend for the EWG. And the EWG stands for extra wide gap. But I prefer to throw this straight shank on baits that I'm dragging off of ledges, or if it's a longer worm, I like to throw stuff like that. The EWG I'll throw on weightless stuff, or stuff that is in more of cover, because the extra wide gap will help penetrate the bass's mouth and get a better hook set, because you have more gap to get pinned to the corner of the bass's mouth. The Texas rig consists of a weight on the line, and it can free float up and down the line. So when you cast it, this weight will fall down and your bait will fall next to it. Personally, I don't like to have it like this. In my times of fishing, I have caught a lot of smaller fish doing this. Just for some reason that, I don't know, smaller fish act faster than bigger fish sometimes. So when that weight falls down and they see that bait falling down slowly, they attack that more quicker than a bigger bass would that has the weight and the bait falling down at the same time. So you can do that, but then you can also peg it. So you can also peg your bait, and you want to go through the loop of the peg just like this. You want to fold your line over, and you want to pull the peg right on the line, and then you can slide it all the way down to your weight. And I always put 2 lure pegs on, so that way one doesn't get burned off and your weight's not flapping around on this back side of the line. So you can see that the weight does not move at all. And I love doing this because I get better feel with it, and also I catch bigger fish. So how to Texas rig a bait. So you see the head of this crawl right here. You want to go about 1/4 of an inch in and then pop back out just like this. And then you want to come all the way up to this bend, and that's the keeper, where when you go through the head of the worm and you come back out, that's what keeps the hook from being buried all the way through the bait. So when you pop it out just like this, you see how it's right on that keeper, and then you want to just slightly bury the hook in the meat of the craw, and then there you go. There's a Texas rig. There's another technique called exposing it, where you want to push the bait up a little bit and come all the way through the worm, let the hook get exposed. You see the tip there, and then you want to just tuck the tip of the hook back in the worm just like that. That is for when fish are finicky and they're grabbing the tail of the worm, or they're not fully committing on it, or they're blowing it off of a bed quickly. You can get that hook engaged in their mouth quicker than the other side. If you're good at hook setting, you can definitely get the hook buried in its mouth regardless. You could either do exposing it or just the traditional Texas style. Alright guys, so I appreciate you watching that video. That's how I do all my Texas rig stuff and how I catch my bass. Pastor G caught a couple bass, as y'all saw, as well on different variants of the Texas rig. So if you're new here, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video, and I'm out.